Well, hello there, and welcome to another edition of Warbird Wednesday. My name is Fred Bell. I am the vice chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum. Today, we went with the big hats, like the ones that were completely enveloping me, and I made the comment that, big hats, what are we doing? What do we go to? This looks like remember those old Hanna-Barbera cartoons where the little cartoon character would wear the hat? I'm not even sure what this is. It has like a brooch on it. Off the camera there to the Kenny who caught it. So today we are going down airlift cargo lane. We've covered a whole bunch of cargo airplanes. And now we are moving into a more modern aircraft, the McDonnell Douglas Boeing, because they merged in 1997, I think is when they merged. This is the C-17, the Globemaster 3. So the aircraft carries the name Globemaster 3 because of the C-74, the C-124, which are two, and then the 3, which is Globemaster 3. Now, the interesting thing about this was when I was, this was in had to be late 90s. I was tooling around the boneyard over in Tucson, and sitting there was the YC-15, which is the aircraft that this is based on. I'll throw up a plan view. But that was like the test bed airplane. I thought it was really weird that it was just sitting there in a field. I have heard since that they actually took it and repurposed it and did something else with it. And I dressed it up. But they did a proof of concept on this airplane. And the idea was that what they were originally looking for was a short takeoff and landing, a STOL aircraft that would complement the C-130. But what they ended up finding out or moving on to was that we've already talked about the C-141. The C-141 fleet was just falling apart by the late 80s, early 90s. They had just flown the airplane so much that they were having a lot of problems. So they kind of said, well, we'll redesign it. We'll make it bigger, and it has a rear loading. It has all the fun stuff that you need, but we're going to make the airplane a little bit bigger. And the reason for that is that now we're going to have it pick up where the C-141, a lot of the mission that it had, and even with this big loading bay, because it's got a pretty big body on it, it can actually do some of the work with the C-5. So a lot of things, and this is true with a lot of American weapons, their Swiss Army knife. Why have it do one job when 40 or better, right? So they re-engineered it. Now the challenge was when McDonnell re-engineered it, what did they have? Tons and tons of problems with the airplane. They had software problems, they had engine problems, and this was another one. We talked about investigations on the C-5. This aircraft sparked a number of investigations, and it also sparked the fact that the C-141, this was supposed to replace the C-141 a lot earlier. That didn't happen. The challenges was that with it, they did proof of concept. The first flight of this designed airplane, this redesigned airplane, was in 1991. The intro was in 1995. They have built, and there are other folks that operate this airplane. We are not the only one that operate it, but there are 279 built. They were built right here in Southern California, Greg. Where were they built? Long Beach. They were built over in Long Beach at the old McDonnell plant, which is gone. And again, a Fred fun fact, we actually tried to save parts of that, like the control tower and some other stuff over there. And when we took it apart, as I've mentioned before, it just basically fell apart, which is kind of sad if you think about it. We couldn't save it. but they were built over there. But the aircraft did not have a stellar intro. It's still in January of 1995. It became operational with the first squadron, U.S. Air Force squadron, that made it operational. Now, what came out of it, though, and then Boeing merged with McDonnell Douglas in 1997. So now it's technically a Boeing product. But what came out of it, which is amazing, it happens a lot with American weapon systems, is you really have a good airplane now. And I'm going to talk about why that it's such a good airplane. It's one that they're going to do like what they did with the other cargo aircraft. They're just flying the wings off of them. They're using them so much, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But the airplane that has come out of the turmoil of the original design is a very, very good airplane. And that leads me to my salute today, Greg. And my salute is quite simple, and that is going to be, well, first of all, Greg, and I saw this when we started the show, as I normally do. Greg, our Canada Day is coming up, our salute to the Canadians. We have a large Canadian contingent in the Coachella Valley. We salute them every year. This is got to be the strangest soda I've ever seen in my life. Chocolate covered, maple smoked bacon soda. Breakfast in a bottle. When I was a kid, I had breakfast in a bottle, but it generally was not maple soda. 160 calories. There's a California Redemption certificate. A lot of sugar, 39 grams. That's about it. Real soda, real bottles limited. I don't know who made this, but it is essentially Canadian bacon in a bottle with chocolate covering. Yay me. Yum, yum. But today, and the Canadians did operate this aircraft, so for you Canadian C-17 operators over there, we say, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm sure they're going to enjoy that. But the folks that operate this airplane, from a standpoint of, I would say now we're really in a heavy lift category. The airplane didn't start out that way, but it really is doing a lot of the heavy lift work, along with you have that C5, which we've talked about, the impractical nature of operating the C5 in some environments. But if you are operating this aircraft right now and you are in the United States Air Force, you are the creme de la creme of cargo operators in the world. And time after time, whether it's been a natural disaster or a forced deployment, you see these airplanes, even down to the fact here we get presidents come in for various things periodically. They like to come into the Coachella Valley. And what shows up with the presidential limo on it? A C-17. So all of the C-17 squadrons, regardless of flag, to those air crews, I salute you. With Canadian breakfast in a bottle. There was a little, and a very strong, chocolatey, delicious aroma, I must add. You know, there's no bacon in there that I can really ascertain. There is a chocolate, very pervasive chocolate. Maybe the chocolate's overpowering that bacon. God, Greg, that's just absolutely delicious. You can tell I'm not going to have that again. The aftertaste on that, I'm going to be lucky to make it through the rest of Warbird Wednesday there. So, the aircraft has performed, I would say, since then, flawlessly. You've seen, there was one, they lost one, I believe, up in Alaska in an accelerated stall where you could see the airplane in a deep turn. and eventually he lost it. I don't think that was fly-by-wire issues. I think it was an accelerated stall, but been fairly reliable. They are short takeoff and landing, although you do run the risk with where the trucks are, with the wheels are on this, that you could do a lot of damage to this fuselage, but they can get in and out on a fairly short runway. The most interesting thing about this particular aircraft is that for some reason, weapons designers love to experiment with cargo airplanes as weapons trucks. And this one is no different in that they experimented with air-launched missiles with this one, called Rapid Dragon. They were JDAMs, which is a joint standoff munition. So they actually launched like a pallet of JDAMs out of this, where they could launch 45 at a time. I understand the reason for doing it, because think about the munitions this thing could carry compared to, well, just about anything, a B-1 or a B-52. But you gotta have air superiority. The aircraft cruises at 520 miles an hour, so it's not slow. It's got these big fans on it, but it's not fast either, and it would be easy pickings for fighters or any kind of anti-aircraft missile, even older stuff, because it's just so big. But they did experiment with using it as a standoff weapon. Now, the face of these, anywhere that the United States is deployed in any numbers, you will see these aircraft. These aircraft will be there moving cargo. So Greg can throw up, I mean, just go from when they actually went operational to 1995. Greg can throw up the number of things, natural disasters and everything. Regardless of how you feel about the retreat in Afghanistan, the air bridge that they flew out of there, these guys flew a bunch of folks out of there, a whole bunch, and it just showed you how many people they could move in a short period of time. I suspect that this aircraft will have a very, very long life, out to 2040, 2050. And the biggest problem that they have with all these cargo carriers, and they had it with this one as well early on, is the wings and the wing box. With all that flexing and the amount of weight that they're moving, the wings crack and the wing box goes out. But I can imagine that what they will do with these is, if and when that happens, and if I were a betting man, I would say it's going to happen eventually, because they get so much use, they'll just come in, rebuild the wing, and fly the airplane for another 10, 20 years. The comparable aircraft on this are the Airbus, the A400M, and the X1, the Y20. Think about this in the fleet. So we have the C-130J, which is the most modern C-130. We have the C-17, and we have the C-5, really what make up American heavy lift right now. Now, if you want to go all the way back to the beginning, or pretty close to the beginning, the first practical real sky truck, the C-47, you can click on the link. This is a hoodie. It is made out of the finest cotton from the north of Spain. You can use this one. Click on that link, and we will happily send you. Jason will happily run down to the store and send you one of these. So click on the link. If you came across us on YouTube, you were extremely fortunate, because all we do are long-form aircraft videos, the finest quality. And you should be forwarding these to your friends. Give us a like, give us a comment. We can always use that. We don't do any short form. All we do is long form stuff. We're not done with cargo airplanes. There's still a few more. And then we're going to move over into, I'm going to telegraph it, aerial refueling. We're going to go with the refuelers, because I keep hearing from them, when are you going to do the refueling airplanes? All right, we're going to do them next. So we'll move into refuelers. But if you like this kind of stuff, forward us to a friend, give us a subscription, give us a like. If you come across us on Facebook, give us a like and give us a comment. We love your comments. We cannot do this without your generous donations. So click on the link, send us a few bucks. we can keep going and keep Greg in bizarre sodas and strange hats that we do this every week, but we greatly appreciate it. My name is Fred Bell. I am the Vice Chairman of the Palm Springs Air Museum. Thanks so much. Have a great day.